The New Jersey drones. Been a hot topic now for the past couple of months, not so much in the media anymore the past few weeks. However, during the holiday season, it was all the hubbub, and Trump and his administration has finally came out and given a statement on what they were.
After research and study, the drones that were flying over New Jersey in large numbers were authorized to be flown by the FAA for research and various other reasons. Many of these drones were also hobbyists, recreational, and private individuals that enjoy flying drones. In time, it got worse due to curiosity. This was not the enemy.
I don't know that I believe it, but according to Trump, these drones are FAA-sanctioned research drones. They didn't say what they were researching. It doesn't explain a lot of the sightings, the phenomenon, the orbs, all of this stuff. None of that's explained. But according to the Trump administration, or at least his spokeswoman, that's what he was told by the Defense Intelligence that they were. And I'm going to elaborate a little more on why I don't buy that here in a second. Before I do though, if you're new to the channel, welcome. My name is Richard. Welcome to Alien Bros. If you're new here, please, before you leave, if you find that you enjoy the video, don't forget to tap that subscribe button, notification bell, and the like button on the way out. It really helps the channel, and I greatly appreciate it. So let's go ahead and actually dig into this a little bit deeper. The New Jersey drones have been a big topic now for the past couple of months, to the point where at one point, r/UFOs and all these other alien subreddits, as well as many other places on the internet, were completely just flooded with nothing but drone footage. Orbs as well, which is debatable on what you believe they are, but mainly the drones, and they were very clearly drones. However, some of these drones were the size of like SUVs and stuff like that. They were massive, and the weirder part is they were seen coming from the ocean. People filmed that. My question being, if they're FAA-sanctioned research drones, why on earth are they coming from the ocean, and what is there to research in New Jersey? I made a video speaking about a potential nuclear threat that likely had a chance of being basically a stolen warhead or something along those lines that was possibly missing in New Jersey, stolen off a freight ship. And basically, this doesn't dispel any of it, unless that's the answer. But they're not saying what the answer is. They're just saying they're FAA-sanctioned research drones. But why do the FAA have no answers? The FBI had no answers. No three-letter agency was claiming these drones while this was occurring. In fact, the FAA made a large portion of New Jersey a no-fly zone. And guess what? These drones gave no... They didn't care, okay? I almost said a naughty word. I don't want to let YouTube get upset with me. But they didn't care. They were flying over New Jersey, and they were essentially just doing whatever they were doing unimpeded. They were flying over military bases, nuclear facilities, power plants, all of that good stuff. These drones were flying over it. And it was as though for some reason, like the FBI and the state police and all that stuff, when they were investigating it, nobody was actually taking action as far as we know against these drones. There's alleged videos of these drones maybe being shot down. Who knows how legit they are? They could have been fabricated. I don't know. But from what I've managed to garner, they have definitely been filmed over integral or important infrastructure. Basically, places that if you were plotting to attack the United States, these would be areas that you would want to target, like a power plant, because you would want to cut the power so that the enemy is in the dark, literally. And that would be a massive problem. And this also doesn't do anything to dispel the Tesla Cybertruck bomber's email where he stated that these drones were from China using gravitic technology, which some of the footage that people have captured have shown these drones performing feats that almost seem to be anti-gravity, as well as these drones getting, even in one video, shot down by an alleged orb UAP. And these drones and orb UAP seem to be around each other an awful lot. Like there's some sort of a connection there, and I don't know what it is. Nobody knows what it is, but it's definitely strange that these UAP, these orbs, are being filmed way more around these drones than before the drones showed up. Now, it's possible that these orb UAP have been there and that people are just now looking up and starting to see them. After all, the second round of congressional hearings did state that orb UAPs were a form of UAP in the Immaculate Constellation documents that people should be looking out for, that the government can't explain. And with that being said, that leads us to a new whistleblower I covered in my last video, Jake Barber. Now, regardless of your opinion on him, he had some thoughts to say on X. Basically, to paraphrase, I'll be showing the tweet on screen, but if you don't want to read it, to paraphrase it for you, he says that he was assigned by the FAA to investigate these drones, and that they are lying to Trump. This is not actually what took place, and they actually didn't know what these drones were, and that the idea that they may be anti-gravity tech, maybe from China, or maybe even UAP sources, who knows, is a more legitimate explanation than they're FAA research drones, which, if you look at a lot of the footage that was captured and places that these drones were seen, it doesn't make sense that they would be researching anything. There's nothing about New Jersey that we can't research without flying drones overhead in secret and not telling anybody about it, unless they're looking for a nuclear armament, which is entirely possible that a nuclear arm went missing, that a warhead could have been somewhere, they found it, and now it's all died off. Maybe the government stepped in with the Project Mockingbird assets in the media and said to them, hey, look, you need to silence this New Jersey drone talk. We're looking for something very dangerous. We don't need the public up in a hubbub about it. People were talking about this on social media. It was going around. And maybe it would make sense if you guys could just shut up about the whole situation, and hopefully it all just dies off and goes away. Well, it kind of has, but among independent reporters like myself, it is not. People like myself have still been talking about it. We haven't just simply forgotten that all of this occurred. I've frankly gotten sick of talking about it and did not want to make another video on it, but considering that the Trump administration finally did give a statement, I figured I'd at least make a video, tell you guys about it, tell you what I think about it, and try to maybe shed some light on why this answer doesn't quite seem to fit the bill when it comes to what's going on with these drones. Now, this is not a jab at Trump or anything else like that. Don't take it that way. This is strictly apolitical. I'm simply pointing out the fact that the explanation that he was given does not seem to hold water when we look at all of the evidence surrounding the drone situation that took place in New Jersey and New York City. It was much more massive than would make sense unless there really was a missing nuclear warhead, which is even scarier to think about than if these things were simply UAPs. Now, I do have some genuine UAP footage that I'm going to share with you guys in this video, but I want to cover all of this first. And as far as I could tell, if we go back and we actually look at some of this drone footage, it's weird that the FAA would need drones like this to be flying over the city. There was also speculation that it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to fly these types of drones when looking for something like a missing nuclear warhead. People were basically coming to the conclusion, like people with a lot more credibility in this area or expertise that I would have, that trying to find nuclear radiation from the sky would be, especially at night, would be very it wouldn't work very well. Basically, it's not something that the United States government would typically do. Even if they're trying to not cause panic, which, let's be real, the drones caused plenty of panic and more speculation than if they had simply admitted that this was missing, or at least simply didn't say anything and just sent teams out to go investigate areas of suspicion, than if they had simply just if they had simply just done something like that. It would have made a lot more sense and probably caused a lot less of a media frenzy than, say, flying massive drones over a very populated city. I would say that something like that is much more suspicious, because if you don't know whose drones they are, people are going to freak out when they see a SUV-sized drone literally flying over their house, or a whole fleet of them flying over their house in their suburbs that they live in, where they don't typically see things like this. The other half of this explanation was that these drones are actually, a lot of them being misidentified, are hobbyist drones. And we even have the mayor of New Jersey posting a video that he claims is of a shape-shifting orb turning into a drone. That's right, the mayor of New Jersey claims to have seen an orb shapeshifting into a drone. I'm going to go ahead and share that footage with you real quick. I'm not entirely sure that that's what this is. It's very intriguing, but I'm not going to tell you one way or the other. I personally don't know that I buy that. I think this could be a plane's headlights turning. I've seen a lot of footage like this where people think that, like, oh, it's a light in the sky, and a lot of times it'll just be an airplane's headlights coming towards them, and then the light will turn, and they either won't see it anymore, or they'll think it's shapeshifting into a plane or something like that. It's nothing freaky. That's usually footage I don't mess with, but there is a weird behavior with the orb that the mayor filmed. You do see some strange behavior with the lighting. Again, this could just be light flares making it look weird. In all honesty, you don't usually see that. Usually, when you see lights like this, they just stay solid. This kind of like morphs around a bit. Let me go ahead and share it with you, and then we'll talk a little more on it afterwards. Here's the footage. So yeah, could this be a shape-shifting orb? Possibly. Most likely I would say no. But this was filmed by the mayor of New Jersey. I'm sure he has some sort of connections to try to verify things. I'm sure he probably, at least I would hope, considering he is the literal mayor, I would hope that he actually went and at least investigated flight tracker data to see if this might have been a plane. I'm not sure if he did or didn't. If he did, then we can rule out a plane. At least I think so. Or maybe we could say that one of these drones had headlights and was just coming towards him and made a turn. It does kind of look like a plane when it turns, but it could be a drone. I'm not sure. I wasn't there and I haven't looked into the flight tracker data. If one of you guys want to dig deeper into this, you're welcome to. See if you can figure out where he was, all that good stuff, what the day was. Look up on the flight tracker data to see if this was a plane. I have a hard time believing that the mayor of New Jersey wouldn't have been informed by one of his officials around him, like, hey, this could have been a plane or whatever. That I have a very hard time believing. But that being said, it's up in the air. I'm not saying one way or the other what this is. I'm not sure. If I had to guess, it could be a plane, but it could also be a genuine UAP. So, if it's a genuine UAP, great. I would say the mayor would be a credible observer. I mean, he's the mayor. With that being said, I do have other footage that I want to share with you today. But before we finish up with the drone situation, or, well, I guess, I want to know, if any of my viewers are in New Jersey, how many of you have still seen the drones, or got video or photographs, anything like that? Have any of you recently, in the past couple of days, gone outside and seen one of these drones flying overhead? Because there has been a dry spell of this footage. There have been a large amount of whistleblowers coming forward, a large amount of Ross Coulthart interviews, which I will be covering some of them. Specifically, I would like to cover Lieutenant Colonel, I believe it's, was it Blitch was his last name, who claimed to have been abducted by praying mantis aliens. And correct me in the comments if I'm wrong about his name. I'm sorry. I watched the interview once a few days ago. It was an interesting interview, but I will rewatch it and make a full-length video on that later. And I'm also going to be doing a video on the Men in Black, so that's going to be a very sort of a project. Keep an eye out for it. That's probably going to be in a few days. I want to be doing a very in-depth video on that for basically myself, because I just kind of always was interested in that concept of the silencers, and yeah, I think that they still play a pivotal role in our government, especially when it comes to the warring factions of departments when they fight over the UAP topic. but we're going to talk more on that when I actually drop that video. For now, just keep an eye on that. Back to the actual topic at hand. The issue with with this interview was that this could have been sleep paralysis, going back to Lieutenant Colonel Blitch. However, it doesn't sound like it. He claims that he was abducted by 7-foot-tall praying mantis aliens, and there is a lot to get into with that one. And a few other whistleblowers. Quite a few, actually. It's going to be a lot to cover. So they're all going to get their own videos. I also want to cover the whistleblowers that came out on Jesse Michael's show as well. We are getting a whole host of people. I really hope that these are genuine whistleblowers hoping to bring disclosure on the UFO topic and not just people looking to sell a book, but we'll find out. That's not to say you can't sell a book. I'm just saying I would genuinely like to actually see some proper information be released to the public that actually sheds light. Some sort of proof would be nice at this point. However, we do have a lot of footage, so with that said, let's go ahead and finish up with the drones. The drones themselves, if anybody has still been seeing them, definitely let me know. I have seen footage of a couple of drone events where people have filmed things or photographed things, and they were quite compelling and very strange to look at, I could say. However, it doesn't seem to be as severe as it was before. And it wasn't just New Jersey that was having these drones flying overhead, or New York City. They're very close to each other, but those two states were not the only two places to have this drone incursion. These drones were actually being seen all over the country. Florida and a bunch of other states, people were also filming these drones. And basically the entire East Coast, people were filming them. And the bigger question, do these drones have anything to do with the Air Force Base incursions, whether it be at RFA Lakenheath or RAF Lakenheath, I'm sorry, I misspoke, or whether it be, Langley Air Force Base, what have you. There's been listings of these drone incursions happening for a long time, and it's not really a new event. But were they related? I have a hard time believing that if these really were research drones, that they would be, but I don't believe that these were research drones. I believe that they might have been the same actor. And that's not to try to spread conspiracy here or anything. It's just, if it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it's probably a duck. That's what I'm saying. Because there is so much information and individual shared footage and stuff like that, and eyewitness accounts and other officials, people who have seen things, the state police, all these other people who have seen these things, witnessed them firsthand, and publicly gave statements on the matter that conflict with what we have heard from the Trump administration when it comes to the answer on what these drones are. In fact, it almost makes you wonder, are these drones possibly the same type of UFOs that were witnessed over nuclear facilities, aka where we house our nuclear warheads or nuclear silos, things like that? Could these drones, because Lou Elizondo in the second hearing actually said that when they would transfer these nuclear warheads, they actually would get visited every time. And they tried to transfer around as a test some nuclear warheads, and 18 out of 18 tests, these UAPs showed up. And that's not to say these couldn't be something different. However, if these UAP are alien, fine. But if it was these drones, then we have an even bigger problem. Another question, maybe these drones could be alien. Who knows? Some of them definitely look man-made for the most part. But that's not to say that maybe a small percentage of these things couldn't have been extraterrestrial in origin. Who knows? At the very least, it seems that there's a chance they could have been using extraterrestrial tech, or maybe just the technology of Thomas Townsend Brown for anti-gravity technology, and that's how these drones are flying around, and then only the US and China allegedly have this technology. I honestly have no idea. It's all speculation, but it's definitely a mystery that needs solving, and we're going to keep digging into it, and if we get some answers beyond this point, which I don't know that we will because of where we're at with the situation, I'm sure that the Trump administration wants to close this by now, since it seems to be no longer as big of an issue. I will say that if I do find other information, I will relay that to you. However, I want to go ahead and actually share some pretty decent UFO footage that I have for you guys. I actually have a ton of it that I've been saving up. So I'm going to go ahead and unload a couple of them on you guys now, and you guys can let me know what you think of them down in the comments section. So the first piece of footage that I have for you guys was actually filmed out of an airplane window. To be specific, the witness statement says, "I just took this on Allegiant, is it Allegiant? Sorry for my bad pronunciation, you correct me in the comments. Flight 1594 from Orange County to Provo, Utah, where we were probably about 20,000 feet in altitude. I really wish that I would have captured the rest of this on video. It appeared to expand a few multiples in size very quickly before nearly instantly disappearing. People who post videos online are right. The videos don't do it justice. I'm almost certain that this was a bona fide UFO." With that being said, I'm going to go ahead and play the footage for you guys and let you guys see it. It is strange if this was actually captured at 20,000 feet, because that's way too high in the air that he shouldn't be seeing anything like this. Let's go ahead and roll the clip. We could talk a little bit more afterwards. Here it is. As I mentioned, this footage was extremely high up. I don't know what would be glowing red like that he would have filmed, or she, actually, I'm not really sure the gender of the witness, that this witness would have filmed this high up in the air. I mean, you don't really see things like this, and if you do, it's generally UAP. Now, maybe you could say, oh, it's another aircraft or something, but that doesn't make any sense, because other aircraft generally don't glow bright red like that at altitude. I mean, that's just too high up. I don't think that you would be able to see lights like that from the ground at this height. I guess maybe depending on where you are, but not something that big. I mean, it just doesn't make sense. But I'll let you guys speculate what you think this is in the comments. I want to move on to the next piece of footage for you, but before I do, I'd also like to point out that Jay Stratton, David Grush's boss, recently verified all of David Grush's claims in an upcoming documentary coming out. And in this documentary, he actually states that he has actually been a first-hand witness to NHI. Like, he has seen non-human intelligence, or aliens, whatever you want to call them. He's personally seen them himself.
For over 16 years, on behalf of the U.S. government, I worked as a senior intelligence official on the unidentified aerial phenomenon topic. I have seen with my own eyes non-human craft and non-human beings.
I'm kind of jealous. I want to see an alien myself. But in all seriousness, that's big, because this guy is extremely qualified. Dave Grush was answering to this guy. Dave Grush is the first round of congressional hearings whistleblower, the main guy that was coming forward with all the secondhand witness accounts about the fact that we have extraterrestrial biological entities, we have their bodies, their craft, all of that stuff that Lockheed Martin is, and other third-party contractors for the U.S. government, weapons manufacturers, what have you. They are all housing these craft. Lou Elizondo in the second round of hearings also said Lockheed Martin allegedly tried to give one of these craft back to the, I believe it was the UAP task force, and allegedly, or sorry, not the UAP task force, it was, I think it was Arrow. I'm not sure. I have to go back and look. But from what he said, back in around 2008, they tried to give it back, and the CIA blocked them. So the CIA has their hand in this, and has some sort of stake on the line, where they allegedly don't want this to become public information or go to the wrong people within the government, people that they don't feel need to know. So my question is, what does the CIA have to do with this phenomenon? What do they know? What are they hiding? Will we ever know? Well, I hope so, but who knows? Trump still has to live up to his promise of releasing the UAP files. Unfortunately, I don't know how far that's going to go. The realistic side of this is that it doesn't matter probably which president, even though they do have the power to declassify anything with literally just by saying it. He could sign an executive order and do this, but unfortunately, the way that the deep state or the Pentagon, DOD, the war machine looks at this is, if you are a president or a congressman or whatever, you're only there for a couple years. For a president, you're there 4 to 8 years. In their eyes, you're a temporary employee, whereas these high-up bureaucrats are not. They're career lifetime bureaucrats, and they can have this information and you can't because they feel that they're going to be there forever and you're not. This has gotten old at this point, especially if the rumors about how Majestic 12 reform were true, because they were formed by a presidential executive order, allegedly. But it's definitely ridiculous that the current sitting president likely will not be given this information or access or ability to disclose all of this information, because how does he prove what they have if they refuse to show him the documents? At that point, it becomes very difficult. I heard in an interview Tucker Carlson gave months and months ago that Trump actually told him that if you knew what I knew about UAPs, that you wouldn't tell anybody either. And maybe that's got something to do with it. But he also said the same thing about the JFK files, and he did recently declassify the JFK files. So there is a strong possibility that Trump could still declassify at the bare minimum the Roswell files. Now, I remember in a documentary from a long time ago, I think it's like been over 10 plus years since I've seen this. I think it was on the History Channel. I don't remember enough information to give you guys a full rundown, but I do remember that they FOIA requested, Freedom of Information Act, for those of you who don't know what that stands for, Freedom of Information Act requested the Roswell documents. They were given some 30,000 documents, I believe, and most of them were redacted. What they saw was stuff surrounding balloons and stuff like that, or cover-ups of stuff. None of it was very clear. A lot of it was changing the story. The story of Roswell has been changed several times ever since it happened. The first announcement from the Air Force, or sorry, not the Air Force, but the U.S. Army, was that they had allegedly recovered a flying saucer. That was what was printed in the Roswell Army newspaper. Then they take it back the next day, say it's a weather balloon. Then it's a Project Mogul balloon. And then the story has changed a couple more times. Now there's theories of, oh, it was the Russian angel of death. He sent over a fake flying saucer with mutilated children bodies to try to mess with us back then. I don't know if I buy it. I think that seems more far-fetched than aliens, to be honest with you. However, the actual answer is still yet to be told. And I don't know that Trump is actually even going to have the power to disclose this stuff, even if he thinks he does, because it's very easy for unelected bureaucrats to lie to him and tell him he has powers to do these things when he doesn't, and just not give him what he wants. That's the part that scares me. The deep state is so deep that they are able to do this sort of thing to our elected officials. I mean, just a great example, just look at Congress. I know Jeremy Corbell was recently criticizing this. We'll talk about that in a second. But Congress, all of their digging that Tim Burchett has done and everybody else, they haven't really learned very much on this topic. They have basically been treated like temporary employees, which is interesting. Yes, they have a term limit, but a lot of sitting congressmen, senators, what have you, will sit for a very long time, regardless of the fact that there is a 2-year or a vote every 2 years, because of the fact that term limits don't exist for Congress. So obviously people have wanted to implement that, but maybe some of the older members of Congress actually have information on this and don't want to disclose this or not showing an interest in this due to that. I know Chuck Schumer recently tweeted and said to Trump, simply now do the UFO files after he declassified JFK's files. But I think that it's a massive possibility that Trump will try to do what he said he was going to do. I do believe he's been following up on all of his other campaign promises. I do believe he will still try to come out and tell us about the UFO phenomenon, but I don't believe the information that he's going to disclose is going to be accurate. I don't blame him because I don't think that he knows it's inaccurate. I think that what he is going to be able to disclose is only what the powers that be in the Pentagon allow him to disclose. I don't think that he is going to be able to get away with undoing this 80-year cover-up. I hope I am wrong. I really hope I'm wrong. But I have a bad feeling that that's what's going to happen, because that has how it's been for the past 80 years, and that's likely how it will continue to be until catastrophic, as they have been calling it, disclosure finally comes out. And I don't know that any of the people currently in the space are going to do that. I think that what we need is somebody to come with a perfect picture a real verifiable under analysis picture of a craft. I know the egg footage is out there. People have been analyzing the crap out of that, but I think we need to see something more. I think we need to see one of these craft actually in a military hangar, legitimately in a way that you could tell that that is what it is. Some actual detail, like a close-up of it, like a 4K close-up, or a body. That would probably be even better. Show us the bodies. I mean, there's been a lot of talk of the Nazca mummies lately, the alleged alien mummy bodies that have been found in Peru. And from what I've seen, it seems that the scientists that have been researching them have confirmed that they are indeed not cake. In fact, they are actually real genetic bodies, and that they are not manufactured or anything like that. They are legitimate beings, and they don't match any DNA known on Earth. The elongation of the cranial skull is naturally formed and not from old techniques that people would use to stretch their heads. They're legitimate. They're actually more than likely alien bodies, and a lot of scientists and doctors that have researched into this and been studying these or mummies or whatever you want to call them, they have been confirming that these are indeed likely not from Earth. However, what does that mean for us? Considering these bodies are over 1,000 years old, what does that actually mean for humanity? Are these the same aliens in the UAPs visiting us currently? Is there something more to this? I don't know. It's interesting, though, that if these really are alien bodies, of course, mummified alien bodies, that they would be here at all. Because that means that we have been visited. Regardless of what the government and science and everybody has said to you, that's proof that in history, at the least, we were visited. And if they visited us 1,000 years ago in history, and they knew about us then, why wouldn't they continue to visit us today, when we are more advanced? When we actually are heading towards, like advanced AI, things like that. When we have finally split the atom, we have jets and things like that can fly Mach 6 with the SR-72 coming out, things like that. Crazy technology. We're going to space. We've created light sails. We've managed to travel 430,000 miles per hour with one of them. We set a speed record. With all of this happening, maybe we're still too, maybe because they know we're smarter, they don't want to introduce themselves yet until we're actually on their level. Or maybe they think we're dangerous. I don't know. There is a lot that could be going on here. But it does turn out that these bodies are likely legit. And obviously, you have naysayers trying to argue otherwise. But I think what needs to happen is we need to see either a living EBE, extraterrestrial biological entity, or alien, whatever you want to call them. We need to see either one that's alive, or we need to see a legitimately verifiable body that's not mummified. We need to see a body that's been cryogenically frozen or something like just been kept on ice. A real body from like Hangar 18 or the Blue Room, whatever you want to call it, wherever they might have them at. We need to roll those bodies out. We need to see them, or we need to see a picture. We need to see proof. There's alleged proof on the internet. People argue that the Victor tapes from the Art Bell show are proof. I made a video on that years and years ago, and I tried to play that footage, and ABC copyrighted me, so I'm not going to actually get into that or share that with you. I can't, because I know they'll copyright strike me again. However, there is a lot of people claiming that that footage is real. I don't know. I've looked at it. I've argued with my sometimes co-host, my friend Josh, on this. We've both watched it very closely, debated it. He doesn't know if it's real. He has questions because he thinks he sees a fold at one point in the arm of the alien in the video. And personally, I don't know. I think it's a possibility because of the legitimacy look of the Department of Naval Intelligence timestamp on that footage. But I don't know. And from what I've seen, it's very hard to guarantee it. There's people out there claiming that it is real, people that have tried to verify it, and you're welcome to go down that rabbit hole if you want to. I'm not going to stop you, because it is one of the more believable rabbit holes that you could dive down as far as a video of a real extraterrestrial entity goes. A lot of people like to argue it's a puppet, and it could be. I'm not saying it is or isn't. That's up for you to decide. However, when it comes to the footage we have that we can work with caught by independent people, I think that that's the most important stuff that we have to work with at the moment. And I know a lot of people are complaining. Why don't we get super well done professional cameras? Why don't we get super close-up shots of these things? People make the argument, well, maybe they don't want us to see them. Or maybe it's just very hard to photograph something that's moving quickly in the sky at night. I don't know. But the next footage that I have for you, and this is going to be the last footage I share with you guys for this video. There'll be more in the next one. Unless I drop the Men in Black video next, in which case, then that's going to be a totally separate thing. However, this footage is definitely a bit weird, because this footage was actually captured over the Kennedy Space Flight Center, in Cape Canaveral in Florida. And it wasn't just captured by any normal person. It was captured by a qualified individual. This individual was actually out about 2:30 in the morning on Sunday, January the 19th, and it was captured Cocoa Beach, looking north towards the Kennedy Space Center in Cape Canaveral, as I mentioned earlier. And in his personal background, he has a bachelor's degree in aeronautical science, as well as an associate's degree in air traffic control, and a pilot and drone license. So this guy actually knows what he's looking at. He is a very credible witness. And he captured these two orbs in the sky over the Kennedy Space Center. A restricted area, by the way. An area where you're not allowed to fly planes and things like that. This is a no-fly zone. And it's weird. Go ahead and check this footage out. We could talk a little bit more on it afterwards. Check it out.
Dude. Planes with afterburners with no sound? Dude. Alex, we are seeing some bro. I'm telling you. That's what I'm saying, bro. What the are those? Like, what? You want to go to the beach?
That's wild.
And that's not a lens glare, because there's two of them independently. Dude.
So normally the first thing I would do when I see orange fireballs in the sky, my brain just jumps to Chinese lanterns. In this case, I don't. Maybe you did, but I don't think that's what we're seeing here. Reason being, these orbs are not really moving. You could say maybe there's no wind, but why are they so parallel to each other? They're staying in like a perfect parallel structure setup from one another in the sky. And they're not going any further away from each other. They're not going any closer to each other. They're just hanging out. They're also, and quite honest with you, they also just have a look to them that when you see Chinese lanterns, you can generally see a sort of like flaming extra glow that these orbs just don't seem to really have quite so much. But then there's also the fact that these two things are simply, one, hanging out where they're not supposed to be, and which also makes me think they're not drones, and two, they're not moving. That's the thing that gets me. They are like more orbiting around each other more so than actually moving, and that's the part that makes me think that there's just no chance these are Chinese lanterns. I just don't think that's what he witnessed. I think what we have here might be legitimate orb UAP, and I know that a lot of you are sick of orb UAP, but that's what we're dealing with, and you shouldn't get sick of it until we know what it is that we're dealing with here, what they are. I know it's difficult to swallow or say, but yeah, we got to know what's in our skies. We got to know what this is. And it's interesting because this was not too far off from when an airplane had a collision with a UAP that left metal in the airplane and caused an accident. This was also in Florida. So definitely an interesting coincidence that this happened around that same time. Now, before we end off, I do want to share one last piece of drone footage with you. This was actually captured in Maine around the same time as the Kennedy footage. So I believe it was January 20th that this was captured. Go ahead and check it out. It's real short, and we'll talk a little bit afterwards. Here you go, just to show that the drones are still around the country. And as I mentioned, there is still also a whole host of other footage from New Jersey and other places where people have still been capturing these things. With that said, I just wanted to show you that people are indeed still seeing the drones around the country. They haven't gone away, and that's definitely contrary to FAA research drones that we shouldn't be worried about. Are they just researching the entire country? Who knows? That's all I got for you guys today. If you enjoyed the video, remember, don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe on your way out, and I hope you enjoyed. See you in the next one. Peace.